Project Luminous held its event this past Monday, and we're not going to talk about it today. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Thanks so much for joining us today. Everybody's going to be talking about Project Luminous everywhere. We'll get to it next week when we are the only ones talking about it next week, okay? Right now, this week, we're going to talk about Mandalorian, special effects, a lot of cool stuff. But James and Lacey with me, as always. Guys, did you guys catch the excerpt for Ray Carson's novelization for The Rise of Skywalker?
Baby head.
Yeah, so you heard about it. You heard things. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be good?
I'll let James actually give some insight.
Actually, this is all of a sudden. Did they release 2 excerpts?
I don't think so. If they did, I missed one because I believe the only one I understood was the Mustafar situation.
Okay, because I do remember people talking about how the baby and the spider and all that other stuff was part of it, and I read the excerpt and it's not included in there. So I don't. That made me think.
Well, I think they included imagery, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But I think it's the only thing I've seen was that Mustafar scene, and that's where that was supposed to be because they created the models for it and all that sort of thing. So I think that's maybe where it tied in. The expanded version of that scene in the movie would have included that. And that's where this excerpt takes place. I think that's where we're at. But
I've never been more excited for a novelization, seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I've loved
Are
the
you
other ones.
hoping that it will fix what you don't like? Is that the deal?
No. I want to preface this with I'm not saying it's going to fix anything. I'm just excited to see what else they're going to add that might have gotten cut from the movie. That's why I'm excited.
I'm actually not excited about it, not because of it itself, but James, what was your take on this excerpt?
I was really excited about the Force Awakens one when it came out because I was like, oh cool, it's got all this extra stuff and all this stuff is canon. But I can tell you there's like very little things that I found that in the novelizations that actually add any significant weight to it. I think it's cool and they kind of expand on some of those ideas. The closest one would probably be the Rogue One novelization, just because they go into a lot of like historical things with Jin. But like in the mainline ones, they just kind of like add on a little bit extra, a little bit longer in a scene, or they go into like a little bit of a different description. Honestly, I couldn't tell you other than what everybody flipped out about the Luke like vision at the beginning of the Last Jedi novelization. Other than that, I couldn't tell you really one thing that they added. I'm so blank on anything from the novel.
Snoke's point of view was a big thing for me.
Snoke's point of view? I don't even remember that.
They give Snoke's point of view, and then they also give a point of view from Rey when she wakes up in the throne room.
I got through half of the Last Jedi novelization, and I was bored. I couldn't make it. And I'm not trying to talk. That's just me. I had a hard time with it. That's all. It was a slow molasses drip. It was a tough one.
What I will say to be a little positive here on the end, I do like that I now know that Hux and Pride were together, watching him do this. I will watch the movie now knowing that they are just off camera.
Yeah, I think
like that.
I think that's so. My take on it is they're there. Oh, we saw the Star Destroyers there, and he kind of goes off from there on his own. I felt this was more of a pairing. Like when you read a novelization and then see the movie version of it, this is obviously the reverse, and that's how Star Wars operates. Of course, it's a movie first. What my take on it though is, nerves, and I this is a pattern you guys see with me, is my concern about what fans will do with it. Because what I feel like people need to remember, and they've kind of told us this from Lucasfilm, is the novelization doesn't change anything or add things that aren't how they're shown in the movie. It's an author's interpretation of what's going on, and they may sprinkle things in that fill gaps and stuff, but it's not you didn't like this, well, here's this version of it. It's like, no, this is just a complimentary piece of the movie. So I know people are going to take quotes from it. You're going to see your screenshots on Twitter saying, see, this the JJ should have done this, and he left this out, and he should have included this, and it's going to be that whole thing.
Especially Ben Solo stuff. If he talks at any point in the second half of this book. Yeah,
and it's going to be tough. So I'm just saying, look out for it. But I do think this is going to be a cool novelization as long as people are cool about it.
I'm pumped.
So I read the Star Wars Newsnet article, and what I didn't read is, to read more, visit starwars.com. And I opened it up, and it totally has all the spider, and it keeps going.
Well,
so
you know what's funny?
That's where the confusion was for anybody that was like, what? It's all there.
You know what's funny about that? So we have our little news chat for Star Wars Newsnet, and Christy, I think, wrote the article for us. Yeah. And I'm like, just take the whole excerpt and dump it in, and then give your thoughts on it and write it. And Val's like, no. He's like, we don't want to piss anybody off. He's like, put a third of it in, and then say for the rest, go to StarWars.com. And I was like, never mind.
So okay. Also knowing this now, and I hate to just keep going on with this, but I think that potentially this book has more opportunity to have segments of it that are memorable, as like, oh, that wasn't in the movie, that was in the book, because of all the controversy. And Last Jedi had controversy too, but I think this one had controversy as far as like, because we had like all this leaked artwork and stuff that wasn't there, and there's the Colin Trevorrow stuff as well. So I think that this potentially has more opportunity for that. So we'll see. I'm excited. But you want to talk about
let's get into the news that we have in the show notes, and let's send it to James for a Thursday edition of the Resistance Report. What's up, buddy?
Take it away, James.
It's the Resistance.
Was that a callback to Monday?
I don't know. It was you saying we're going to send it to James, who was just talking.
Yeah, sorry.
So the Resistance report this week has a couple of stories having to do with the Rise of Skywalker, obviously, the Mandalorian, obviously, and a little bit of toy news. So let's kick it off right now with this really cool video that we saw that came from ILM. And for me personally, it was this kind of thing that I've been waiting for a very long time. I remember Jon Favreau doing an interview saying, we're waiting until the end of the show to talk a little bit more about the volume. But when it's all done, you'll see a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. And we've barely scratched the surface on what this thing is. This was, I think, our first real video looking at it. And it's only like 4 minutes long, and that just drives me crazy. I want to know. I want an hour documentary on this, straight up. What did you guys think of the video? Lacey, I'm going to start with you.
This is honestly one of the coolest things I've seen ever. Hands down, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a TV film production in a while. You know, Jon Favreau is known to be someone that pushes the boundaries of technology, similar to how George Lucas was back in the day, where he'd be like, I want to do this. It doesn't exist. I'm going to make it. James Cameron's the same way. This doesn't exist. I'm going to make it so I can do my movie. So Jon Favreau is very similar in that way, that he created certain technologies for The Lion King. He did it for Iron Man. So he's doing it for The Mandalorian. And this thing it's just unreal. And we heard about it a little bit from, I think Clayton Sandell talked about it, right? Where he said his buddy was in there, or someone he knows was in it, and they saw rocks, and then they clicked a button and the rocks were gone.
I can never remember his name. Carlos Esposito. Was it George?
Giancarlo
Esposito. He did an interview where he was talking about how crazy it was.
Yeah, it's insane. And the idea that they built this whole soundstage and everything you see in the show is basically just a virtual render of an environment. But it does explain a lot how there's very minimal props. There's very, like, everything is pretty in one close area. There, you don't get the big expansive scenes except for that one street on that one planet where, like, the cantina and stuff is, or Tatooine obviously is the other set. But that being said, it's so cool. And the idea that they can make a whole environment and then render it out, and then a day later it could be fit on the screen so they can make changes. And it just opens up, like Jon Favreau says, the possibilities of where they can go in Star Wars and what kinds of things they can create in a low budget way. So they spent all this money up front to create it, but now that it's there, the possibilities are endless. And Jon Favreau is just the coolest and constantly pushing what's the next thing, what's going to be beyond what I'm doing right now. And it's just so cool to hear people talk about it. They're super passionate about it. And then seeing it in action about how much basically you're tricked, but not, but you feel kind of tricked. You're like, wait, everything I saw wasn't really what it was.
Yeah.
So, Lacey, you specifically mentioned the other day when we were breaking down the visual effects of Rise of Skywalker that there's a very specific time called golden hour, and you only have so much time to shoot during that piece of that small segment of time.
Yeah, sunrise
when
and
the sun is going down. Yeah. And they mention in this 4-minute video that they could shoot 10 hours of a sunset because... That's I think them pushing the technology, saying, hey, that very specific time that is very important to all filmmakers, we have unlocked the potential to bring that time to, whenever you want to shoot it, wherever you want to shoot it, anytime you want to shoot it. It's just, that's crazy that you even specifically called that out. And then they mention it in this as like one of the biggest benefits of this. We can shoot a 10-hour sunset. Yeah. John, what do you think about the volume?
To really quick, my professor, Greg Golda, who taught me about Magic Hour in college.
I hope he's listening.
He's not, but shout out to you.
I think it's unbelievable. It really is.
Would you say it's unreal?
Yeah, I think I would say it's unreal. Yeah.
Okay.
So Rob Brito, the head ILM guy, producer, Oscar nominated. When he was talking about not only how they're able to do a 360 rendering and situational settings, but him talking about in-camera effects where the director can see how it's going to look. I think that is a massive game changer because now you're talking about what this thing's going to be like print on frame. It gives the director the opportunity to, instead of like you think about the old ways of George Lucas filming and you're looking at a green screen, you're like, well, we're going to hope that looks like this and that looks like that. They are looking in camera at everything as it will be. And that is taking your ability to capture what you want in your vision to the highest level using VFX. That, and also you got to figure this type of thing is going to help prevent leaks. Because if you can isolate your settings now and you're not going to a jungle in England, you're not going to a desert in Jordan, you're not going here, you're in this room and you're like, there's 8 people in the skeleton crew filming this huge sequence for the show. If this comes out, I know it's one of you 8 people. So that's a big thing.
Well, they kept the child locked up for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And my biggest thing, obviously, I'm really pumping for a Solo follow-up. You're talking budgets. They have assets already for Solo: A Star Wars Story. Rob Brito was the producer for Solo: A Star Wars Story in terms of the visual effects. And if you can get the budgets down for these types of shows, the whole narrative that, Solo didn't do so well, even though it made $400 million, Ron Howard's highest grossing movie of all time, fact, they may entertain, like, you know what, maybe we can do a Han and Chewie series. Alden's not that busy. He's not a superstar. He's not saying, don't Disney Plus me. Jonas wants to come back. You look over at Marvel, they have like 5 shows already on the docket with big stars and all these different characters. Star Wars has been doing 1, and then we're doing this one, and maybe this one. Yeah, maybe more. So you got to think this technology will afford them the opportunity to widen the net on the types of stories they can tell on Disney Plus with Star Wars without making it look cheap. You look at The Mandalorian, it's absolutely crushing it. So,
and it's stunning. The whole show is so stunning.
All these planets and locations, and then like we said about time budgeting, you can just do whatever you want when you want to do it. So this excites me, honestly. I love behind the scenes Star Wars stuff. This excites me more than anything has with Star Wars in a long time because of the potential what stories they can tell. So I'm really fired up at this. Like you said, James, I mean, I could see an hour documentary about this. I think we can do a full discussion on this. Maybe see if we can get someone from ILM or somebody on the show to talk about it with us. I don't know. I really love all of this stuff and what it could mean for the future of Star Wars storytelling, including make Solo 2 happen.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me is I think when you look at certain individuals that are breaking in visual effects, you are looking at like a George Lucas back in the day. You know, you're looking at James Cameron still today, who John, you were even kind of mentioning something that James Cameron did do or has been developing for the movies, which is filming like 2 scenes at the same time, and then like the display that he's looking at is merging them so he can see like someone in a different location, like filming in real time and with another actor in this room and stuff. And like that stuff is so crazy. And I don't know exactly how true this is, but I was fairly confident that also too, they were working on the Avatar sequel movies near the facility that they were doing Mandalorian, and they were like sharing ideas and equipment because James Cameron specifically is like, yo, this is legit.
If
like what's
he
going
says
on here.
that, then that's like,
yeah.
I mean, think about his movies. The whole soundstage is like one big blue room. So imagine he doesn't have to do that. It's just his actors are in the space.
Yeah.
That's like Paul McCartney telling you wrote a good rock song. If James Cameron's telling you, like,
right.
I feel like potentially this has some big like historical thing, like we may remember like when visual effects took a big turn, like when they started more heavily using digital cameras, or when they more heavily went into motion capture or something like that. I think we're going to look back at this and be like, we didn't used to do this, but now we just it's so much easier to create all of our environments and sets and stages and things that wouldn't cost that money in a digital environment, and then just have the camera talk to the wall in order to reproduce our worlds and stuff. It's just that's so insane.
I could see them using it for Indiana Jones. Like, instead of having to go to a desert location with 78-year-old Harrison Ford, they can use these types of, effects and stuff like that. And Lacey, I wanted to bring up one other thing before we move on. You brought up how Favreau's kind of like George Lucas, and it like made me think like Swingers was his like American Graffiti, low budget, a friend story, romance, that sort of thing. And then he goes on and does all these big movies. Like, there are parallels between the two of them. That's interesting. I just wanted to bring
absolutely
that up. Yeah.
Also, going back to what James said about the golden hour thing, which I don't know why I didn't think about that, because I was geeking about it when they said it, is that now you look back at The Mandalorian, when you watch it, a lot of those scenes of him with Agnolte is like all golden hour. Him with Baby Yoda, all golden hour. Yeah. And I remember when I was watching the show, I'd be like, man, they must have had a rough time shooting this. Now I know they didn't. They just shot it.
Yeah, that's true.
One of my takeaway clips too was Jon Favreau saying, almost when we were wrapping the season, we were thinking we should start working on environments that this does really well and base the story around that. And so it actually makes me think that there's a really good chance that the visual effects for Mandalorian season 2 are going to be better because they know what they're working with.
Even
and
crazier.
they can write and adapt to what it does best. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
Also, something to look forward to. We now officially know the release dates of the Rise of Skywalker Blu-ray and digital release, which still to this day, they're doing the 2 weeks early for the digital thing. I saw some people questioning that. We can have a little bit of discussion on why they do that specifically. But John, you want to talk a little bit about the release dates?
Wait, yes. John, were you right?
No.
Well,
I was
yeah. I'm with you, John. It was right and wrong. Yeah.
So I got one of the dates right, but it was the wrong format. I said the 31st, March 31st, and it turns out the Blu-ray's coming out March 31st. I thought digital was coming out March 31st. So, whatever. I said it was a guess, so whatever. I didn't write exclusive in my...
exclusive.
Yeah. I'm very excited to own the movie. I think it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies on a visual standpoint. I love, I know we were just talking about the volume and stuff, but I love the real sets and locations that they used and what JJ did to capture this movie, just from a visual standpoint, and seeing it on 4K on my 65-inch TV right here is going to be very cool. I'm very excited about the full-length documentary about the making of the movie. I was very happy to hear they did that because they didn't do it for The Force Awakens, and I was a little nervous that JJ, being the protective type of director, was going to kind of close that off and not do something, and he did, and I'm so excited to see people who made this movie without knowing that there would be like a fan backlash and haters and all this stuff, just having a great time and loving making a Star Wars movie and being able to see that trapped in that period of time before reactions. Because I connect with that, because when we were at the premiere and I walked out of the movie, I was like, wow. I was like, that movie was so fast and like knocked me on my rear end, but I loved it. And I'm so glad we don't have to deal with a controversial Star Wars movie. And I was dead wrong, of course, but that was
45 minutes later.
that was my, and I'll never be able to have that moment taken away from me because I saw it before everyone else. So I saw a Star Wars movie in a positive environment, in my opinion. Yeah.
John and Lacey are on the phone with me like 24 hours later, and they're like, "Don't listen to anybody, James. You need to enjoy the movie for what it is."
Yeah,
I'm like, "What?
We told you to stay offline. We told you to stay offline.
Well, also for spoilers too, of course.
Spoilers mostly.
Yeah. The one thing I am curious about is why there's no deleted scenes. I think that's the biggest hot button issue with this thing. So maybe they're saving it for Disney Plus. I know I've seen that they have done that with some features. I think maybe Lion King or Aladdin or something like that may have just been exclusive Disney Plus deleted scenes. So maybe that's a Disney deal to try to get people to sign up for Disney Plus, which is a sneaky move, I guess. I don't think it's a JJ thing. I think this is more of the packaging and what they want to include with to make their monies. But I'm excited about it. It's about a month or so away, and add it to the collection. And pumped. I think I'm gonna I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking Steelbook because I have the other two on Steelbook. Though I kind of wish I did the Target stuff because I feel like that's sometimes a better deal.
Am I going?
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll start with, I'm definitely getting the Target version because that's what I always get, and they're always like solid, way better than the other stuff. Speaking of just the look of it, I want to get 4K, but I'm not digging the picture they chose for the 4K version of this movie. I wanted like the red and blue poster that everybody loves, and they put the Poe Dameron ship in front of the ship image. Not a fan of that. Because it's called The Rise of Skywalker. Like, I want Rey front and center for this movie. That's just like my one little pet peeve. That being said, The Last Jedi, I would argue, this is a hot take right now, that director and the Jedi is better than The Last Jedi to me. Like, I love behind the scenes stuff so much. I cried watching that movie with Mark Hamill. I love the making of stuff. It's what got me into film. It's what got me into video production. And I like when the people that work on these movies get the moment to tell their stories and for people to see how much work goes into these movies while they're sitting behind their keyboard saying, like, this is stupid. Like, because there's so many people this movie affects that nobody recognizes until you see it in front of you. I mean, Director and the Jedi, at the end of it, you see the big scene where it's like all the people that are there when the credits roll. And you're just like, oh my gosh, there's so many people involved. So I'm really pumped about that, like John is. I'm super excited about the creature shop type stuff, how they use prosthetics and creatures and aliens and how they make that happen. They talked about that with The Last Jedi with like the crystal foxes and porgs. And then I'm kind of excited too to see the Warwick and his son piece where he gets to talk about coming back to the series and doing it with his son, because at the end of the day, Star Wars is about family. So to get to see an actual person be like, I'm bringing my son in, our family's now back involved with it. That's really exciting too. I kind of wish they didn't spoil it with that image before the movie came out. Like, I wish I could have been genuinely like, yeah, he's in it. Instead of when they were like, hey, look at this image of him looking at the head he's about to put on.
Right.
But other than that, I can't wait to own this movie. I can't wait to watch it again. I haven't seen it since I saw it in the movie theater. So it's going to be a nice, fresh rewatch.
Well, I don't think anybody's seen it since they saw it in the movie theater.
Well, I'm sorry. I should have prefaced that. Since like December. I haven't seen it since December.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think this is the one I'm not going to buy in physical. My God. I've never opened any of them. I've never once watched it via the disc.
Now they're worth more money.
I couldn't even tell you what is in the box other than they usually come with some sort of like piece that talks a little bit about the characters or has like some unique artwork, which is really just reshifted around artwork that we've seen. So I just, there's almost no benefit anymore. And it's even harder now because we know, you already own this. It's coming to Disney Plus. So the argument then is not buying it to own it so that you can watch it whenever you want it for the rest of your life. It's not even that anymore. It's now buying it so that you can get it earlier than you will when they give it to you for free later. Owning these movies is definitely in a weird spot. I will say I'm probably willing to spend the $20 in order to be able to watch it at home before its Disney Plus release. That's worth it to me. But I don't think it's worth it to wait that 2 weeks to pay $24 for the Target exclusive DVD and Blu-ray book combo. I'll never touch it, ever. Like, I have this sitting here. I don't even know what it does.
Oh, I like that movie.
It's a good movie, but I can watch it on Netflix, potentially Disney Plus sometime soon, and also it's in my iTunes.
But if you buy
I'm a big physical copy person, though. Like,
and you get the digital for free with it.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, James, are you saying you're not buying the movie at all?
No, I'm saying I'll probably buy the digital version, but it's not worth waiting 2 weeks to pay more for the physical version.
Oh, that it is more for the physical, for sure?
Yeah, I mean, I think you might be able to argue somewhere you'd be able to pick up the Blu-ray for $20, but I
get your point. I think a lot of people are with you.
I think most of the time I end up paying like 24 something, then it's got tax on it, so it's always like 27 or something.
Lacey, this is the Walmart exclusive cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it has them fighting. So I don't think the Poe Dameron one is like the end-all be-all 4K.
It looked like it was the 4K Ultimate Collector's Edition.
I mean, yeah, I think there's going to be varying 4K versions, you know?
Why are you making that face? You know what? I buy all the collector's editions, James. I think that we live in a world that sooner rather than later, you're going to see like Movies Anywhere app like go away, and then you don't have your movies anymore. You have to like download them and put them in places. I like physical copies. I like having them arranged on my shelf. I like physical.
I don't doubt that something like Movies Anywhere, because people can argue there's like Walmart's version, Voodoo, and all that stuff, and they disappear. But the thing is like, that's why I chose iTunes, because I literally don't think Apple's moving from that platform anytime soon. And I'll tell you what, it's absolutely more likely that Blu-rays will become obsolete, and your Blu-ray player, and just the same ways as VHS and DVD have become obsolete, they will come out with another player that may or may not be backwards compatible for a little while or whatever, but digital will continue through. There's no specific platform for digital that is going to overtake it.
That aside, James, what do you think of like the special features offered, and like you shocked about no deleted scenes? Like, what's your take on that stuff?
At the end of the day, like, all of the deleted scenes and stuff from these particular movies, I don't even really think of them as canon. They're interesting. I watch them and I'm aware of them, but I feel like if I wanted to watch that, I could find it on YouTube or something. Okay. I'm not too worried about which platform gets one additional scene, you know.
I don't mean that. I just mean in general. Like, are you a documentary guy? You gonna watch the making of and be into that, or not really?
Everybody talks about the director and the Jedi. I've seen it once, and I was like, oh, whatever. It was a good behind the scenes piece, and I'm glad that it's there. But I wasn't like, I mean, not saying your reaction was bad, but I definitely wasn't like this was better than the movie.
I teared up during that because of Mark Hamill.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the only part I even remember. I remember him like saying, oh man, that's Frank Oz and he's doing Yoda and it's all like a flashback.
Yeah.
But I don't remember literally anything else.
I remember Ryan talking about how nervous he was, the pressure that was on him. Oh, I love that. I love it. I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to go watch it right after this.
Yeah, I probably should watch it again.
It is good. I think, you know, to your point about deleted scenes and they're not canon, I mean, I think the Rise of Skywalker like officially puts the nail in the coffin in that, because they borrowed deleted scenes from The Force Awakens to bring Leia back in the Rise of Skywalker. So they're like, we're using that deleted material. Like, they're definitely not canon. So I think they're just a fun, you know, what could have been. So like some of them, like Kylo Ren on the Millennium Falcon, and you know, stuff like that. And it's extra stuff for fans to just say, let me get a little bit more of this.
It's one of those things that's loose. You have to take away the whole like canon of it, because I totally understand exactly what you're saying. You can't say a deleted scene is canon, but you can note that things that happen in the deleted scenes also happen in like the novelization or whatever. So it's like, that deleted scene did happen, and this is the closest you're going to get to a live action version of that scene. Yeah. You know, so you can kind of look at that stuff and think it's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't really move the needle for me.
Yeah, it's all right.
On that specific type of stuff. You know what it does though? The child, aka Baby Yoda, aka Tiny, aka the Tickle Me Elmo of 2020. Get ready, it's coming. Baby Yoda was a whole new slew of merchandise was released on GMA and StarWars.com, right? Was actually who put out the rest of the stuff with the Darksaber and all that, right?
Toy Fair.
Yeah. Okay. Hasbro has released their new look at all the new stuff that's coming out, including Mandalorian and the Clone Wars merch. There's a lot to talk about, but I think if I had to sum it up, I would say the big one probably is this animatronic Baby Yoda, right? Lacey,
yes.
How many of them did you buy?
I bought 2, but I didn't... So So I bought one, and then I was like, I should have bought it on Amazon because I get free shipping, and I have a gift card that Amazon gave me for messing up my Infus Nest figure. Thank you so much, Jeff Bezos. So I should buy it there. So I bought it on Disney Store first, and I was like, oh, shoot, I'll just return this one and get it on Amazon. So I ordered it on Amazon, and then I went to Disney Store and was like, how to do returns? And they were like, psych, we don't let you do returns unless you go through like this really extensive process. And I was like, ugh, well, I guess J5, little Johnny Hoey's getting a Baby Yoda for Christmas.
Well, and that is very nice of you, but I will Venmo you. We've talked about this, I forget where, Patreon video maybe.
I think it was on Monday's show.
So the funny, by the way, the funny thing about this is that they sold out everywhere, and I have two. I'm like Dwight on The Office, who has like all those Barbie dolls, and he's like selling them.
Oh. My idea of a perfect Christmas: me alone in my house, and my 11 cell phones are going off.
Yeah,
of people trying to do
Princess Unicorn.
The doll with the unicorn, and then Toby buys one. Oh,
my horn can pierce the sky. Well, to James's point, you can return the Amazon one. So
yeah. We'll figure it out.
I'm already too deep.
Too deep.
It's only $60. That's not bad, right? For the toy that it is.
I got the Amazon one for $30.
The day that this was announced, I listened to a podcast that morning on, it was from a podcast called 20,000 Hertz. Check it out. They did an episode on the sound of toys and electronic toys, and they went into how they didn't used to do this and how the loudness war has entered into toys. The loudest toy in the store gets purchased more often, just all sorts of these little things, and how it can how much sound it's putting out, all this stuff. And then boom, right there, Baby Yoda electronic toy. And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, that thing is going to be all the rage.
It's already sold out. Just pre-orders.
Yeah,
are sold out.
So all right, let's move away from Baby Yoda. What do you guys think about everything else that was announced? Like,
well, I have a couple of things I'd like to say about Baby Yoda.
You want to talk about Baby Yoda? All right.
Yeah. So, if this is coming out in December, right?
The 17th and the 21st.
And the Mandalorian's coming out in October. So this guy is going to be the same like size in Mandalorian season 2, you have to figure.
Yep.
He's not going to grow much.
Nope.
Thankfully for Jeff at Hasbro, when he was on GMA with Michael Strahan, that the thing worked when they were on the show, because it could have been one of those blooper shows if the thing fell over or if it didn't make the sounds and stuff, but I guess it worked. He's cooing and stuff, so he's not, unless they change it, he's not going to be talking in Mandalorian season 2. And the other question I have is, like talking words, I mean, but maybe they change it. I think, James, you brought that up in last week or Monday, or I forget when we talked about it.
Yeah, we actually, will you be buying the Mandalorian?
Yeah, we talked about
$60 Baby Yoda was on Will of the Force on Monday. Yeah.
But my other point is, the name thing is it going to be revealed on that in the show, which means on the box it's going to be shown. So yeah, we talked about it Monday in Will of the Force a little bit, but I just want to bring those points up again here in case people missed that. That's intriguing to me how the toys always had to run parallel with the show, and they hid Baby Yoda from merchandise as a favor to Favreau for season 1. So this past Christmas they didn't get the wave, so now it's coming for season 2. And I wonder what that does for crossing paths with stuff that happens on the show. What is
Lacey just realized she bought it on Walmart too.
She has 3 Baby Yoda.
I bought the plush in December.
So you do have another one? Oh my God.
When they put the pre-order up in December, that they were like, it's not Christmas time, but you can wrap this in your... I bought that.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. Unbelievable.
That's why, honestly, I didn't say it, but I was surprised you bought this one too. I was like, she needs... It's almost the same thing. It's just a little different. It's a plush versus like a hard thing. But.
It does the baby hand trick.
It does nothing. It's just plastic.
No, this one.
Oh, yeah, this one does. The one I bought before that does.
Yeah.
I know. You're the thing you bought before. I was so surprised people wanted that.
It's on GMA. It's the one that's in that egg thing.
Yeah,
the one on the table, the bigger one, that's the one I bought.
It seems like the best, like, AMC exclusive popcorn bucket you've ever seen. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Little
It
Johnny
was like
Hoey's
a real
getting
toy.
2 Baby Yoda.
Yeah, maybe.
I got a Baby Yoda coming to me in
Poor
June
Bennett.
from our Christmas Star Wars Newsnet raffle thing, but I don't know which one.
That's what it is. That's the one I bought.
James is mad
the
that
one
he's
on
not getting one.
The one on GMA that's in like its carrier. That's the one you're getting.
Oh, it's not plush though. It's like a.
It's got a plush body but a hard head.
That's the one I'm getting. Yeah.
It's like a big baby doll.
James, I'll buy your son one. We'll do that.
Are you getting anything from Clone Wars or Mandalorian? You know what's weird to say is that the Darksaber now is more likely going to be associated with the Mandalorian than it will for Clone Wars.
That's kind of crazy, right? I was thinking about that today, actually.
Can we talk about... I was a big snack kid, right? They're doing Baby Yoda fruit roll-ups.
They're doing Baby Yoda everything. I think the laziest thing I saw was they're doing Operation with Baby Yoda, where it's Baby Yoda and all the Operation things are just things that it's making float with the Force. Like you're not actually taking pieces out of Baby Yoda.
This is a part of their rollout, though. Like fruit roll-ups is a part of their merch rollout.
Making that money.
Did you see what the flavor is called?
Frog?
Strawberry Sensation.
Wow. I don't think it's Star Wars related. You know what is interesting though? The whole world of how big Baby Yoda is in comparison to things for the Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Like the Mandalorian has something specifically that was bigger than anything the Rise of Skywalker was doing. And we just got done talking about the volume. Even though The Rise of Skywalker was nominated for Best Visual Effects, I think part of it was the reason it didn't win was it was like, it's all great, but it's nothing new. It's nothing crazy that pushes the field forward. And it almost makes me wonder if they had used the technology of The Mandalorian and The Rise of Skywalker, if things would have been different. Or I guess you could say if The Mandalorian was a movie that was released, maybe it could be up for...
That's tough. I get what you're saying, but I don't like comparing the two, like pitting things against each other in a way. But...
No, I'm totally doing that. But what I guess I'm getting at is I think it's interesting that I don't think the fans care about the big budget of it. They want the story. They want this element or this element. And in a lot of ways, fans have responded more positively to things coming out of The Mandalorian, which is a high budget, but low budget in comparison for the amount of content produced out of it. Than we actually got for all of everything that went into the 2.5 hours we got out of The Rise of Skywalker. So I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm not even like really wanting you guys to comment on it. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, Baby Yoda. It's crazy, right?
Insane.
Okay. Well, you got anything to add to the merchandise?
I feel like by the time May rolls around, I will have bought 3 more Baby Yodas.
That's very possible.
They have, I noticed they have Mandalorian or Baby Yoda Operation, like the game Operation.
I just said that.
No, but also Trouble. And we should get Trouble and play it at Celebration. I
still have Crossfire sitting in my house that we have not played.
I know. We were supposed to bring that to Celebration too. It didn't happen.
Crossfire.
You get caught up.
All right. Well, that's it for the Resistance Report. Lacey, why don't you tell us a little bit about Patreon and how you could get on the show?
Yeah, so this is the Patreon pod race. So outside of the show, well, let me back it up a little bit. There are certain ways you can support us, which is commenting, liking, subscribing, turning the notifications on for YouTube, liking us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or SoundCloud. Leaving a review. Following
Sharing
us on
with friends.
Okay. Following us on Twitter at RBATSWNN.
By buying baby Yodas for us.
Yes. There's lots of different ways. One of the ways that you can support us outside of just doing that is on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/resistance broadcast, where you can join the resistance and gain access. I'm thinking this through as I'm saying it. Gain access to the page and see exclusive content, behind the scenes footage of in between the shows, polls, much, much more, tons of stuff, community engagement. We have, I'm not just saying this, literally one of the best groups of people in the Star Wars fandom, if not the best. I would argue the best. Some of the nicest, most genuine, kind people I've ever met are in our community, and we'd love for you to join it. So, that being said, we have our general, Micah Harrison. It is his first time on the Patreon pod race. He's taking up our rotating slot. And his question was, which he has to answer in 60 seconds or less, is, now that the Clone Wars is back for its final season, what do you think the lasting legacy of the show will be years down the line? Micah, your first pod race, take it away.
Hey TRB fam, General Micah here. From the first time my dad showed me A New Hope and Leia talked about the Clone Wars, I wanted to know more about them. And the show has expanded on themes and stories that I think have strengthened the prequel trilogy for myself and for fans over time by giving depth to what Lucas never had time to expand on in his films. I think Clone Wars has already begun to show its legacy and how it has shaped what Star Wars became in the Disney era, as well as spawning not only Rebels, but endless characters and story arcs that led into Solo, Rogue One, and The Mandalorian, as well as, in my opinion, really putting its stamp on the tone of the sequel trilogy. I mean, Dave Filoni alone, being the continuing treasure that he is, going into the new generation of content, is a legacy in and of itself, not to mention all the lore and Darth Maul's expanded story. I could go on forever, but it's had a character or moment in everything to come after it. And I believe its legacy going forward after season 7 will be endless. It's already made its mark and shifted the tone of Star Wars forever in a good way. That's it from me. Thanks, guys. It's a privilege, and may the Force be with you always.
Awesome job, Micah. Very well done. Awesome shirt. Very good campaign there. So, John, what do you think of his answer?
The shirt is fantastic, I have to say. So for our audio listeners, Micah was wearing a Make Solo 2 Happen shirt, so I appreciate that, man. Great job, first pod race, like polished pod race. I love the familial aspect of Star Wars, and the fact that you were talking about your dad showing you A New Hope for the first time brought me back to the first Star Wars movie I would watch. I remember watching like Saturday CBS Fox movie of the weekend. It was like The Empire Strikes Back with my dad, so that reminded me of that, so thank you for that. I think you're right on about Filoni and everything, and carrying the torch and being the, he's kind of the connection to the old guard with George and stuff, so I think you hit on a lot of points. Yeah, really, it's just going to be one of those shows that's going to become a part of the Star Wars legacy beyond it just being kind of a show. There's a lot of animated shows that come and go, and you're like, oh, which version of Ninja Turtles did I like? But the Clone Wars is the Clone Wars, and it's a part of the lore, and it's a part of the history of Star Wars, and I think you're right on how you kind of touched on that. So, great job, Micah. I think first pod race, you killed it. Can't wait till you come around again and do it again. Thanks for all your support as always, and I'll see you around. Thanks, man.
James?
I think I think that the question is just, it absolutely is going to have a legacy, because there's just no getting rid of it. Even if you were to wipe canon again and say that stuff isn't canon, we're starting over with just the movies itself. I think people people still remember like the other Clone Wars series. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. It will always be around. And it will have that legacy. So I totally agree with what you're saying there. Another thing that we didn't talk on it, but when we interviewed Kevin Kiner, he has produced more music for Star Wars than anybody ever, as far as like hours of content. And that's largely in part to the Clone Wars. So you think like that even might be it itself. There's more Clone Wars than there is of anything else Star Wars.
Yep.
Potentially. I mean, maybe there's more books of something, but I doubt it. I don't know. It's kind of tricky to argue against how much Star Wars there is because of the Clone Wars series itself. So good answer. Great job on the pod race, man. I look forward to more in the future.
Micah, you did a great job. I love your shirt, like I said. Love your tattoos. Talking about a lot of visual stuff right now because you did a really great job. I also agree with you. I think that Clone Wars came from George, so it makes sense that it would continue the legacy and have its own special place in Star Wars. Again, really great job. Can't wait to see you on the pod race again soon. And now we're going to give it to Lacey, who will go through the Resistance transmissions. Lacey? Thanks, Lacey. It's time for Resistance transmissions.
Love it.
How this works is every week there's a crazy, wacky situational from John on Twitter, and you guys give your answers, and I read them on the show. And I don't know what the situation is. I don't know what your answers are. So we see how this goes. All right. So the scenario is the Star Wars hotel at Disney World is going to be expensive, even for Star Wars characters. Pick a character and what they would do to obtain enough money to stay at the hotel. All right. First up is Galactic Curator at Galactic Curator. And he or she said, Yoda hawks his collection of stolen camping lamps.
Mine.
Next is Adam Odell at Odell Adam, who said Qui-Gon Jinn goes to Canto Bight and uses the Force to rig the craps game all night until he has enough.
Man rolls the dice.
Next is Joe Labrasi at Labrasi_Joe, who said Obi-Wan turns to selling death sticks to afford it.
Ooh.
Next is Alex Zukis at Zubaka, who said Wicket would sell 100% organic handmade hemp jewelry on his Etsy store.
That was a good one.
Accurate. Yeah. Next is Kevin Lewis at Kevin LE096285592.
Are you a bot, Kevin?
Way to get your handle, Kevin.
Yeah, come on, Kevin.
Way to get your handle.
He's like, he starts typing his name and he's like, all right, KEVINLES.
And then just gave up.
No, I think that's what Twitter probably gave him because Kevin Lewis was taken.
Come on,
I
Kevin.
doubt it gave that.
Yeah.
Unless that's like his phone number.
Yeah. Social.
Leave in the comment what Kevin should change his Twitter handle
his
to.
It's his social security number.
That's next week's Resistance transmission.
All right. And he said Chewbacca would sell his Wookiee family back into Imperial slavery.
Oh, that's dark.
Oh.
It is dark.
Kevin.
No me gusta. Next is at Yellow Energy, who said Ray and BB-8 roll up to the front desk. Ray to BB-8. It's been real. Ray to front desk. Droid for the penthouse. What the hell is going on?
The droid is for sale, I guess, huh?
No, he's not. Next up is Maerk at DeKind-Vakens.
Maerk is everywhere this week.
At _kind_awakens. He said Admiral Akbar would take his 5,000 children to drop them off at a Red Lobster. Red Lobster needs the inventory, and Admiral Akbar can't turn down an offer of that magnitude. Maerk!
Oh, calamari, cilantro.
Gross. I hate calamari.
Really?
Next is... Yeah, it's gross.
It's a stack.
Next is Matt Skywalker at MIB1188. And Matt said, old lady from Tatooine digs up a couple old lightsabers and takes them on Galactic Antiques Roadshow. I'd watch that show.
There you go.
You ever watch that? They're like, this plate is worth $3,000. You ever seen that show?
No.
Antique Roadshow?
No.
Oh, it's a good show.
What channel is it on?
Basically,
I think PBS.
Yeah. Or was it like TLC or something at some point? I don't know. It doesn't really. I think it was
It
like PBS.
started
or
on
something.
PBS.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Also, that basically is Doc Ondor's Den of Antiquities.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's just like Doc Ondor being like, and then the translator being like, I'll give you 50 credits for it.
Next is Padre at Pat Dresch 93, who said, Palpatine pays no money. He simply enters the hotel suite and sits down. Bellhop, sir, you haven't paid for your stay. Palpatine, are you threatening me, Master Bellboy? Bellboy, you must leave the suite at once. Palpatine, I am the suite.
Well done.
Guys, thank you so much. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And every week, John puts up a scenario and you give your answers and you could be on the show. Now, if I was really cool, I'd be like, now back to Lacey to get... Just kidding. Back to you, John.
You should take us out. Go ahead.
I don't know how to do it. You do it.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you so much for listening and watching and being a part of the Resistance. Make sure you are subscribed to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. As Lacey mentioned before, head to patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast if you'd like to support us and also have access to bonus content. There's 5 tiers, so go check it out. It takes a few seconds to hop over there. Check out the tiers. If you see something you like and you're down for it, sign up. We really appreciate all the support. Make sure you guys are heading to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, tons of stuff over there. And we're going through some quirks, but we should have the site has been kind of rebooted and relaunched with a new look, so I hope you guys are liking that. Where am I at now? tpublic.com/user/resistance broadcast. Check out our shirts, including this one.
I am all the Jedi. Ray on the back.
Ray on the back. I am all the Jedi.
Starry Sky.
Go check it out. And before I go any further, we had a Patreon pod race. It was Micah's first, but I need to say thanks to all of our generals on Patreon. And you know who you guys are, but you are Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Neel Lowery, Jeremie Myers, Neil Shah, David Probus, John Risi, Seth Keim, Micah Harrison, great job, buddy, Tampa Movie Guy, Michael Gaines, and Val Trichkov. Neil Lowery, hope you're feeling better, buddy. I know you've been tweeting that you've been going through some health stuff. So, man, get better soon and keep pumping the positivity out there. You're a good dude. And that is pretty much that. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks. And I thought it was funny, too, because you mentioned how we have all those behind the scenes and extra things that are on our Patreon. It's kind of like our Patreon has more extra content than the Rise of Skywalker Blu-ray.
Oh, my goodness. One thing I do want to shout out real quick is check out James every Friday for us doing the Clone Wars fan show. So that will be...
Look forward to that tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be the second one for episode 2 of season 7. Kind of like the Mando fan show, but if you take a big sandwich and crunch it down like that, James is going to run through that for you each and every week.
A panini press.
Yeah, the first one's already out there, so go check it out if you haven't yet. And yeah, he'll be with you guys tomorrow for the Clone Wars fan show. Lacey, where can people find you doing stuff on social media?
People can... You were about to say going viral. I know you.
Nope.
You were about to say it and you had to pause.
Embedding the videos. What? Go!
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran and send help because I can't stop buying Baby Yodas.
Send help indeed.
It's true.
To everybody, forever. All right, guys, that is it. So we hope you enjoy your weekends. Enjoy the Clone Wars fan show. Enjoy all of our other content. I'm sure I'll have a rumor review coming soon. We have a lot of other stuff on our YouTube channel. This is the final weekend to do Rate the Resistance, guys. So if you're an Apple Podcast user, rate us 5 stars, take a screenshot, tweet it at us at RBATSWNN with hashtag Rate the Resistance. You have until Saturday to do that. And you'll have a chance to win one of our t-shirts. So that's pretty cool. And we appreciate the support because it helps us out a lot. So enjoy your weekends. Do that. And we'll see you Monday with another episode of the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.
See you around, kids.
Oh, James?
See you around, kids.
We'll see you around.